had this interesting conversation the other day. Let's talk about black people, business, women, creatives, and reality. The other day, I had a bit of a consultation with a gentleman who owns a business on the south side of Chicago. And of course, at the beginning of the conversation, the first thing he said to me was, I don't have any money. That's never the place that I want to start a conversation, especially when you're trying to potentially collaborate. Of course, nobody is asking you how much money you have. The question becomes, how much is the service that one is offering worth to another person? The DJ playing field, you should be happy if you get $200 for 4 hours at this point. If you go to Google, the rate for a DJ is not specific enough. Google puts the rate at about $100 an hour. That rate is a start. When you have to factor in, and all of these things are being haphazardly thrown, when you have to factor in equipment, whether it's your controller, your CDJs, your mixer, when you have to factor in equipment, meaning speakers, anything extra would be considered a la carte to some capacity. The rate for your DJ service is $100. Of course, if we're going to have the conversation about how oversaturated the DJ community is, some folks are happy to get $25 an hour. The assumption would be if you're going to get $25 an hour to DJ, it's based on the fact that you're new and you probably don't have much of a presence. When we talk about presence, your presence would be website, Instagram page and numbers, content that supports the fact that you do what you do, whether that is physical in-space DJ opportunities, meaning in venues, and content that shows maybe your crowd, people who are supporting you, so that justifies someone investing in you and your product. It's part of the reason why I keep my web presence up. It's part of the reason why you'll find me on Instagram at least once a day in one of my accounts. Now, Fathom DJ, of course, in most of these places, maintains a level of presence that more so supports businesses over individuals, because I've been able to get somewhere close to my rate working with corporate and at least small businesses. When it comes to independent spaces and people just booking you for their private events, I don't get a lot of that traction anymore, because I'm assuming that it's been proven that I'm not as interested in playing what is popular or palatable for the general public. And of course, I have no problem doing that, and I'll say that all the time. Of course, that I'm coming into the space and I'm gonna, kind of give you what you ask me for, but that's not like a $150 all-in kind of deal. And it's partially based on the fact that I've had these spaces with brands and corporations that have set my rate higher. What I've offered to a side that would be the services of marketing and most certainly collaborating on promoting to bring people in, which is why Lux Listenings exists. And this is all under the guise of marketing. My shared space with my partners, the Happier Hour, is based on one activation that we have. My shared space with Lux Listenings is based on me creating the brand of Lux Listenings and collaborating with Daryl here in Chicago to create and activate spaces. My part is mostly the vision behind the imaging, the graphic designing, the music coordinating, the talent coordinating, and the venues that we will collaborate with. So I do all of the footsteps. I create the websites, I create the marketing, I create the narratives and storytelling for the pages. I push out most of that content. I create most of the graphic design, as well as the content for the pages so that they get viewable. I take those relationships and I go inside to get leads. I normally hit Instagram, Facebook, mostly Instagram, because it just feels like a global community where you can at least grab people's attention and they can go and look directly at your page and see what your activities are and see your assets. So that way they come in and they can, kind of assess whether they want to work with you or not right off, instead of having to click out and go to another site and look at your website. If you're on Instagram, they can kind of see what type of activations and what type of marketing schemes and things of that you might offer. And the DJ space and the marketing space can work together or separate. All of this pretty much came to a full circle when I moved to Atlanta to help open this restaurant in Rocksteady. I have to reference that space because it wasn't unlike Bureau Bar, because I used to do the marketing for a space here in Chicago at one point. The Bureau Bar on 16th Street was a kind of collaboration of a business between Kenny Johnson and a fellow by the name of Oriel. His last name is failing me right now. But most of the behind the scenes understanding of operations, the understanding of at least front of the house, as well as um, some of the back of the house, and what drives business came from climbing into those spaces and being able to see their numbers, being able to see, the services that they have, the cocktails, how much the cocktails cost, and of course going into a space at Rocksteady and closing and opening and creating the table layouts and sitting and hosting people and closing out the registers at night and trying to learn the numbers. All of my understandings come from that space. So when I come to the table to deal with these venues here in Chicago, which most of them are either now restaurant bars or restaurants or bars, and then there's the hotel space, and that's a wonky kind of independent space. You can't approach, in my opinion, you can't approach DJing at this point, for me. You create more assets, you create more collectivizing of economics when you have more than music to give them. Music is a service. You could come in and just play music and not brand or market or do any of those things. But when you start putting a lot of energy into marketing and branding for the collaboration, that's a whole different animal. And that is the reason why I say to people, DJing and DJs are the low hanging fruit of marketing. because of course, you got a music manager, you got a marketing manager, and the marketing manager is going to create the events. The marketing manager is going to book the talent. The marketing manager is going to set up the activations and all of the things that the activations require in order for these events to come to life and take off. And you can't, for me, it's like I could take your $150 and come in and play records and to hop up and down. But this is really a part of what has substantiated my income for for in a direct, specific manner right now for about a good 3 years. I have had projects in addition to working a regular job. I have had those for on and off well over almost 20 plus. Man, probably, I don't know what my anniversary would be for DJing entirely, but I've had other spaces that I've occupied. Right now, everything is dwindling. Have I been looking for work? Of course. I've been looking for work since I left Rocksteady in 2020 in March. Of course, I got a decent opportunity at Parlor in 2020 of May, which fortified me for 2 years. Um, was I getting other gigs? Nobody would hire me. Other gigs, like collaborations with other DJs? No, mostly not. I think I had while I was in Atlanta during that period, I probably got three people who were interested in booking me who were DJs or DJ adjacent at that time. And then of course I had the opportunity to play at the Thompson Hotel, and that created a substantial amount of revenue during that time because I was one of the only ones um, that played on Tesserae in the rooftop as well in the lobby. And of course, because of the 30 net 30 situation, they had so many challenges getting my pay up and running. I made the determination that I was going to come home to Chicago because I couldn't take waiting and waiting and waiting because they messed my money up, and I literally was in a space many times where I was just like not able to pay my rent because I was waiting on these checks, and they kept mailing the check to the wrong person and sending things. It was just really unorganized. And so I decided to come home and I worked at Trump residencies here in Chicago. And I got a great run from September until June, and June rolled around. And I wasn't very happy there. I mean, I made it work, I was consistent. They loved me on the third shift. I did exactly enough that I could do to manage working for 8 hours, standing on my feet for 7 of those 8 hours straight at a desk and without many casualties. Then I got this opportunity in Atlanta. Maybe that was the wrong turn. As a DJ who's used to working for oneself, as a natural hairstylist who's used to having flexibility and being able to manage her own schedule and work with others in a way that gave her the flexibility and also the direct means for funding and revenue. The last opportunity that I got during the period where I was at Trump was a non-for-profit event in Atlanta, and they were paying me decently enough that me being away from Trump for 3 days made sense to do. I asked for the time off to be able to take that opportunity. I was not given the dates that made it make sense. And I made the choice to quit because I could not allow that kind of money to go untouched. Now, in addition to the fact that I got that opportunity, I also was able to regain the traction for the Thompson during that period of 2022 until, well, that was actually, yeah, it was 2023 until 2024. That's all I did was get opportunities to DJ, fly back and forth to the Thompson when it worked out. I had someone who aided me in creating a schedule that worked for me, and I was given enough opportunities that it fortified it. 2024 pops up. 20 at the end of 2023, I had to move from the space that I was here in Chicago. I kept my opportunities at the Thompson, and I packed my things and I moved to the space that I'm in now. Um, and that was it literally was this time last year. Now I am I'm almost 2 months behind in my rent because in March of this year, the activations that I had every 2 weeks were canceled. I have been looking for work here in the city of Chicago for 2 years straight since I returned. And most of these jobs won't accept me. I haven't had many real offers. I've continued to make opportunities for myself in the ways that I can. But the playing field is pretty dry for me.